people. So once again, we have come back with another 5 speakers. So starting this session, before that, I would like to request you all, please mute your mic, everyone, because everyone need to hearing person need to hear the interpreters clearly. Please mute your mic. So we will be beginning with the introduction of all the speakers. Then later on, we will have a poll questions for everyone. So Tushar will be translating the questions in an Indian Sign Language. When we will be answering the questions, after that we will discuss that. There are a lot of people who are interested and would like to ask questions also, but we have only 1.5 hours or maybe maximum 2 hours only. So if we are done with all the speakers, might be we could have only 5 questions. That's all. So okay, we will begin now. So the first Ankit. So we would like to have Ankit Vishwakarma first. Hello, Ankit. How are you? Hello, I'm good. Can you give us a background, what you do in brief? Sure. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for inviting me here, a million team. I'm glad to join here, and thank you so much, all the deaf people. You manage your time and join the session. My name is Ankit Vishwakarma. You can see my sign name, my name as well. This is my sign name, and I'm working here in Early Intervention Center. The child who are from 0 to 6 years age old, I'm working with them in Haryana school in Haryana. So we have 8 centers, and I'm the project coordinator. So I've been coordinating with other deaf teachers. So whatever the work they are supposed to do, and I tell them. And also we ISL teachers, whatever the ISL classes we are providing, I also coordinate for that work also. So I've studied in Indore school in IDBA Academy from till 12th standard, and then I done BAA SLS, BA in Applied Sign Language, and I have done a 4-year graduation course. And then I did peer-to-peer learning. I went there and I worked over there with Sibaji Panda. In his work, I worked for a year, and then it got extended to 2 or 3 years in peer-to-peer learning project. So after 2 years later on, I came to Haryana, and I'm working over here as a project coordinator in Early Intervention Center. I hope I'll be working more in this school. So in this Haryana Early Intervention schools, how many deaf teachers you have? So in our school, there would be around 70. What you said, 70 deaf teachers? 40, around 40, no, 30 or 40, but all over the teachers are, along with the hearing teachers, we have 70. No, about we are asking about deaf only. So 40 deaf teachers we have. So in Early Intervention Center, so how many parents of the deaf children they are coming in Haryana Center? How many? So it's about 50 to 70% parents who do come for the classes. So from 0 to 6 years aged deaf children we have. It started from 2018 and still continue. So when the early intervention program has been started, so it was established in 2018 April. Okay, it's 2018 April. So it's been 3 years, and we going to celebrate it as well soon. That's great. Thank you so much, Ankit, for your introduction. Thank you. So the next person would be Arate. Hello, Arate. So yeah, from America we have someone. Can you give us some background? And if you can introduce yourself. Hello. So this is my team. My sign is this. So, great. So I born in India, in Kerala, but right now I'm working from home in America. It's Washington DC. So the work I have been doing different kind of work. It's called CIS Coordinator of Institutional Support. So it's in short, it's instructional. Okay. So it's in short, it's called at CIS, and also we have a school. It's in short, it's said MSSD. So we have 9 to 11 standard students over there. Whether English and all other subjects, we try to support them to the teachers whoever teaching ASL or about history and other subjects. So the teachers who are teaching to their students, we try to support them, and I'm working as a coordinator over there. So earlier, before that time, 6 years, I've been working here as a teacher. And second thing, in America, I've been working, and also my husband, whose name is Bilal. So we have established one online education system. Yeah, so both of us have established one online education system, ISL class, ISL Connect class. And the third thing, I think Dr. Alim would know that we both are working together. What's the third thing? In Africa, we are working with Nigeria. And also they have the, likewise, we have the Gallaudet University. They have collaborated with them, and they are trying to encourage the people who can start bilingualism method, and Gallaudet University providing the funds to them. So hopefully we'll have that university as well. And Dr. Alim is also working along with us in that thing. So that's the three things I would like to say. So three different roles we have. So instructional support, you mean that you support all the teachers in MSSD school, right? You support all the teachers to how they can teach to the students in bilingualism method, right? Yeah. So in CIS, in short, I would say CIS, we have different kind of roles. So whenever teacher would join, a new teacher would join, they would not know in the beginning how they can support and how they can teach to the students. So we bring up the books and the new books, how they can teach to the students the way history and geography and other subjects they have, right? So teachers in the beginning, they might not know how to explain to the deaf students. They will say, okay, they feel like that it might be difficult and not up to the level for the deaf children. So they feel like, no, we have done research and we find out that, yeah, it doesn't match to the deaf students. Okay, I think that students can go to the other class and yeah, then they can learn better. So right now, how many, so okay, you are supporting the children, right? But it's from the 1st to 12th standard or 1st to 5th standard. And also, how many students are there? So, in reality, in Gallaudet, we have two centers. First for the baby who are so small, and also it's from 0 to 8 from kindergarten to MSSD. So we have two centers for that. MSSD is for 9 to 12 standard. So we have two centers. So I'm responsible for MSSD, for English, for history. So we have two departments. So I'm coordinating with both of them. How many deaf students you have? So in MSSD, we have around 160 students. And how many deaf teachers are there? Personally, I think I'm a hearing person, right? So about the teachers and I think there would be two or three, that's all. And 2 or 3 hearing teachers only, and other would be deaf teachers. 3 or 4, you could say. Hearing teachers are only 3 or 4. And we have two Indian teachers as well, like I am and Bilal also. So that's all we have over there. So all other people, principal and their assistant and all other are deaf. So it's around 40 teachers we have, 40 deaf teachers along with the principals and other staff members. And in hostel, all the people are deaf people over there. So and in sports department, we have different departments. So all the deaf people are working over there. So in schools, it's little bit different over there. Principal and the vice principal, they are the different. They are the deaf people, and other we have only 4 hearing people. So whatever the problem they have, anything, they just talk to them. And the second, with the schools or anything happen in the schools, or if you feel like that we have to close down the school, so the vice principal and the other staff members, the second one, and the third one, if they want to learn the science and all, I hope this is a science or science, correct? And mathematics. So we have different kind of departments. So for the fourth one, I'm responsible for that department. Okay. Okay, we'll ask you more later on. Thank you for your background. Smart. Okay. Hello, Smart. Thank you for joining here. Can you tell us your background, what you do, where are you from? Hello, my name is Smart Marak, and this is my sign name. I'm from Tura. It's in Meghalaya. So I'm working as a teacher. I joined in 2019 in January, on 7th January 2019. So you have done D.Ed, right? Yes, I have done D.Ed for 2 years, and later on I became a teacher and started teaching. So I've been teaching deaf students also. I've been teaching in D.Ed also to Indian Sign Language to the hearing people, and also I've been working as an assistant in a hostel as well. Okay, so I've been working. I've been teaching Indian Sign Language to the hearing people in D.Ed course and in hostel as well. So what was the first one? So I've been teaching in the school also to the deaf students. What we are teaching to the deaf students? I've been teaching Indian Sign Language to the deaf students. And the fourth one now in the BA course, I'm studying as well, BA. So that's all from my side. So about online education, I'm studying 1 to 10 standard students in D.Ed. I've been teaching Indian Sign Language on online platform also. How many deaf students you have in your 1st to 10 standards class? Can you repeat once again? So from 1st to 10th standard class, how many students you have? 57. 57 students we have. So in D.Ed, how many teachers are there? I mean in schools, how many teachers are there? I think around 6 or 7. I'm not sure. Maybe 6 or 7. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. So only deaf teacher, I'm only the one in that school. We don't have any other deaf teachers. So we have a hard of hearing teacher as well. Okay, thank you so much. We'll be asking you more later on. Thank you. So now the fourth one, we will have Dr. Melissa Volan.
Hello, you can hear me? You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to give this talk, to be a part of this discussion, because there's a lot of issues, and particularly, in this pandemic. There's a voice coming.
And you are muted.
Hang on. Okay. You can hear me now. So most of you, I think, know me, but let me just introduce. I'm from Meghalaya also. I started my work as a student of linguistics in the field of sign linguistics. Those days in the year 2000. And in those days, sign language was not at all, imagined to be a language. Even I myself also, when I started working on my research, I did my research from JNU, and my fieldwork was in Meghalaya. I came across deaf school in our city. Then I realized that maybe my knowledge in linguistics I could help deaf people learn how to speak. So that was my thinking at the initial stage when I was young, doing my research. And then as I continue my work, I realized, okay, they have their own language of communication. So then, doing my work in deaf education, I realized that it gives me insight to a different language altogether, a language that we don't use with our mouth, but a language that we use with our hands and facial expression. And I was curious that, how this language is possible. Then because of sign language, my studies in sign language, I understand that language is not a medium where we use with our mouth, but language lies in our brain. The ability to use language lies in our brain. So it expanded my horizon into a world of a very fantastic language. And because of my interest in linguistics, it led me to this field. So I continue working. I finished my MPhil, my PhD. Then I joined NCERT. Right now, I'm an associate professor in the Department of Language and Social Science at NCERT, a unit office here in Shillong, located in Shillong. And sometime in between, I took off. I went to teach in JNU again as a faculty. I did my teaching in sign linguistics again for 2 years, and it gives me a lot of time and a lot of scope and platform to work with deaf community in Delhi. So many smaller deaf communities in Delhi as well. So for now, since I'm in NCERT, NCERT stands for what? And we cater mostly for mainstream schools, inclusive schools, and our textbooks also, we design, we write, we train teachers based on NCERT, and these are commonly used by CBSE schools across the country. So my work since I joined NCERT has been mainly to cater to inclusive schools. And I can see the audience yesterday and today, the panel members as well. Most of you are directly in contact with the deaf community through the schools, through the organization, colleges, and other platforms. But for me, I work mostly to promote, inclusive education. It's our mandate by NCERT. So you must have come across many news that, we are to provide e-content for differently able. So when we talk about differently able here, it includes everybody. But in NCERT has also given me a task to work on strengthening this standardization of Indian Sign Language. I'm also part of the committee, and many members of the Deaf Association, National Deaf Association, and smaller associations are also part of that committee. And we're working closely with RCI, we're working closely with ISLRTC. But from Northeast, since I joined NCERT 2006, I've been working in promoting bilingual education for deaf children in school. I've been doing a lot of research. I've developed, for my PhD also, I've made a multimedia lexicon for Shillong.
Ma'am, you are muted.
Yeah. So I started off my work in sign linguistics with lexicography. So the language that I learned, Indian Sign Language that I learned 15, 20 years ago also has gone up dramatically and it changed a lot. And but then it still retained that indigenous forms of signs also. And I've also worked with the Northeast variety of sign languages. Here, the 8 states have different sign languages. And of course, because of the cultural, social differences. So we try to incorporate all those differences as well. So I have developed a Northeast Sign Language Variety Database online. And now we're trying to bring that into a common platform so that teachers in inclusive schools can use it as resources to bridge communication gap. And we are struggling with dealing with variations of languages, and because even one school in Meghalaya may be using a different variety of signs, and we don't have skilled sign language users. We have few deaf teachers. You can see Ismar, he's also teaching in Tura. There are many other people like him also who are teaching in the schools, but most of the schools, the deaf schools, residential schools in Meghalaya also, they have hearing teachers who are not qualified to use sign language. They know basic communication. So there's a lot of breakdown of teaching in the classroom. And in my researches that I've done teaching English in deaf schools, the challenges faced by deaf schools in Meghalaya, the problem is that there's always this, communication gap, in the sense that the classroom are not treated as an inclusive platform. And many of the times, even if you provide an interpreter, the teacher's relationship with the interpreter also needs to be strengthened, because some teachers are of the view that they cannot rely on the interpreter to teach their content, to translate their content. So so we need to have some guidelines and rules for interpreters and how to work along with the teachers in the classroom. Then we have other issues like interpreters are not consulted with the lesson plan. So these issues, and many of the interpreters also, sorry?
Just a second, can we just hold on? We just want to have the introduction. Later on, we'll ask you the question.
Okay. We'll I like to talk, so I'll continue to talk. Yeah.
No problem, that's fine. But I mean, we definitely want to ask you this, all the things. But after all the introduction, we'll definitely ask you in detail.
Yes.
So we would like to have Pradeep now.
So Pradeep, can we have Pradeep? Hi, namaste, namaste. Thank you for having me here, and this is my first time ever being a panelist. Thank you so much for joining. I'm really glad you're here. If you could give a background about yourself, where are you from, etc. All right. So my name is Pradeep, Pradeep, Kumar Kumar, Sabat Sabat, and I am a teacher at MDM, MDR,
DRM, Deaf Role Model.
Deaf Role Model, okay. So I am from Odisha. All right. I work with DW. What's
DPW.
that? DEPW, Deaf Children World Federation.
Worldwide.
Worldwide. Worldwide. Deaf Children Worldwide. Got it. So, Deaf Children Worldwide, where is that located? In Odisha. Where is the organization from? It's an NGO. Okay, right. It's an NGO, got it. Card, NGO card, CITIZEN, Citizen, as Association for Rural Development. So it's an NGO that supports it. So what are your roles there? So my role, I have been working there for past 7 years, and I've been teaching children, around 50 children. I've been teaching 50 children, 50 deaf children. Yes. And I'm the only teacher who teaches them, and I have assistants as well. Community based. Okay, we do community based. Okay. So it's, in short, it's called CBW. So it's been 7 years that I'm a part of it, and I'm the only deaf person there. And yeah, please continue. So you said 50 deaf children. What is the age group of these 50 deaf children? From 4 to 15. 4 to 15, you said. 4 to 14, yeah. So till class 8. And they are from far off villages, not from cities. All the children are from villages, from the rural areas. And we train them, we go to their houses. In the field work, we go for the field work. We go field work and find families who have deaf children and, train them sign language, etc. So CBW, community based work, they go there and we go and, keep training them with the needs of the deaf. That's what we do. Great. Yeah, we totally got it. Thank you. We'll just hold your thoughts. We'll come back to you and we'll ask you more questions. Great. Thank you. Most welcome. Now we can spotlight Tushar. Right. Firstly, we'll now have a poll. Tushar will be translating the question and you can all vote and then we will start the discussion. Great. Should I begin? So the poll is going to be coming up, and before that comes up, I will explain you the question in ISL. So deaf people in India, do you feel that online education is beneficial for deaf children in India? Are they enjoying Zoom classes? Are they accessible? Are they learning it completely? First option is yes, they are learning and it's beneficial. Second option is no, that there's no learning and no benefits. There are more challenges. Third option is maybe. Some of them are, some of them are not, and there are challenges. You can pick one option. Hope you're ready. We can have the poll. You can click from the 3 options. Yeah, we need more people to answer. Keep clicking. I hope you got the question on your screen. Please, can we hurry up? Should I explain the results? Yeah, please. Go ahead. All right. So people who think it is beneficial, let's see the results. It is beneficial. 45% people said yes. Nearly 103 people. 22% said no. 51 people felt that it's not. And the rest of it felt maybe. 32%. So now that you've total number of people who have voted are 277. Great, thank you, Tushar. Now let's have two people join in, Ankit and Pradeep. Great. Okay, I think I have been spotlighted, Ankit mentions. I have a question for you, Dr. Alim here. So now the polling has been done and 45% of the people felt that yes, online education is beneficial. I am actually surprised to know the answers, but great. I want you who are experiencing teaching online, or you are witnessing people, witnessing teachers who are teaching online, what has been your experience? What have been the pros and what have been the cons related to online education for the deaf? Great. Ankit, you can go ahead. Yeah. As I've been seeing that children, young children from 0 to 6 years, it's quite different. The experience for them is different. Why? Because Zoom, they are not aware about how to come on Zoom, right? Whereas with children 0 to 6 years, they find it difficult. But in villages also, more children are from villages, so they have a technical barrier. Parents don't have enough technical support to provide them, and they provide only very minimal kind of a service to them. Because of the COVID situation, pandemic situation, everything has gone online, and parents did feel that that they would begin, and he was trying to connect using the phone. They would respond to certain things, and in villages sometimes they would just turn off their phones, etc. And the communication challenge is huge, especially in the villages, children living in villages. For other age groups also, there are communication challenges. I mean, it's very difficult to get their attention on the screen, be it YouTube videos, be it Zoom communication. It's difficult, and sometimes parents don't give the phone to their children. They're using their own phone. They only get the phone for barely 10 to 15 minutes. And if there's a classroom happening, we can have their attention at least for 2 to 3 hours, and a connection can be built with the student. So that is the issue that has been coming with the online education, right? So parents basically, I mean, I know you said that in the villages, like the internet is an issue and everything. So parents, are they more involved for their deaf children in their education when it comes to online, or are they not involved? What do you feel? Yeah. So many parents, they 7 days down the line, they would be involved when they are sitting with their child, and it's difficult to maintain eye contact there because attention span goes away in a few fraction of seconds. So that way it gets difficult. In cities, the situation is a bit better because parents are educated and they are aware and they're excited for their children, and the technology service is also better. Even though there's internet issues, but it's still better off. They do take initiative of communicating, but in villages it's very difficult, and most is villages only. And deaf people are mostly from villages, and they have most amount of questions from for us, whereas city children are very few and their issues are lesser. 7 days, sometimes in a week, parents would be involved. So yeah. Okay, great. What are the positives of online education? You express the cons, if you could express some pros as well. Positives, there are some. It's YouTube videos can be made. If there's difficult technical error, we would just record the videos in sign language. We could sign stories, etc., make it visual. All these things we are able to do, artwork and alphabet, story work, etc. So that easily we can keep sending to children and they can view it, and it makes them really happy as well. We don't know if it's if they're really enjoying it, but they're really understanding it. But we try and have a video call, so that's a pro. All right, thank you. Now over to Pradeep. Just hold on. I know Neeta wants to interpret or Pradeep? Great. If we can have Nika as well.
So it's the same question to you, right? So what are the pros and cons of teaching deaf children online, right? Which is better, online or face-to-face? Right, so great. So earlier on, when there was no COVID, right, we used to go to the homes, go to the field, and we used to teach the children. And I think they were doing really well. But because of the COVID situation, it is very difficult. I mean, the times are very challenging. The internet, the connectivity of networks is also very difficult, right? So, and there are also parents or families who have phones, who don't have smartphones. So we came up with, ideas of how do we tackle the situation. So what we do is we adapt lessons. So the CBR workers are responsible for it. So they adapt the lessons. We have to really make them very visual and accessible by children, deaf children, and also create some online videos of lessons which can be sent out to them. So, and these are all linked to the books or the textbooks that the children use so that they know what we are teaching them. We can also, contact them through WhatsApp, which is doing fine. Okay, so both of you, this is a question to both of you. So now is the COVID situation, right? So you are making more videos in ISL, right? So you are making videos with more visuals and more videos. So you think that in this situation, this has increased, right? So Pradeep says yes. We have made a lot of TLMs, which are teaching learning materials, in visually and with videos. So these are useful for children to understand better. These are actually very, very useful. And along with these, it is successful. Yeah, once the COVID situation decreases and we are back to normal per se. So do you think this will still be beneficial, right? Using images and videos? Pradeep says, absolutely, yes. We need to keep doing this and retain all these materials in use in the future. Well, so you're like teaching online. So how often do you teach? Or do the children attend the classes regularly, or do they absent themselves many times? I would say yes, people who attend regularly are very less in number than the ones who absent themselves, because it is difficult, being in the village, rural areas, the parents are required to go to work outside, so the phones are with them. We'll have to also, work with the CBR workers and the parents so that they also involve actively in the education of the children, right? And face-to-face definitely has to happen. Right, thank you very much. I'll come back to you, but going on to interpreter, yes.
Thank you. So I would like to have Smart and Dr. Melissa.
Yeah.
Just a second. Smart, can we have Smart also? Okay, great. So now I would like to ask you both. So now we are facing this pandemic situation, and all the teachers didn't have the vision, right? Like they have to teach from their home and they have to do the online education. So what do you feel the teachers, will they feel satisfied while teaching on the online? Were they ready to teach on the online? No. If you feel like no, they were not ready, how you can support the teachers so that they can teach easily and in a better way? For maybe we will have these online classes for the next coming year as well. What could be the better plan for the future, and we should be ready for the online education?
I'll let Ismat answer. Yeah.
Yeah, Ismat, you can begin. Yes, Ismat. Okay, so you are asking about the hearing teachers or the deaf teacher? Yeah, you can suggest for both of them. What you have seen, what would you like to suggest? So in online classes, the experience is not good, and we do have the internet issues. Sometimes people don't have the mobile and don't have the laptops, and they are not financially stable, and if they can buy any technical products. So we have the groups, right? So sometimes I have only deaf students group. Standard. But in my class, we have only deaf students. If I want to show the video and all, I can't show that to them, right? If I would like to show the YouTube videos, or I would like to chat on the box, or maybe through the SMS. So sometimes, I mean, they are using their mobile, and they can't use the other services at the same time. They can't read the other things at the same time while I'm teaching to them. And I just want them to, I mean, if they want to make the notes and all, if they didn't get anything, so we just think that okay, we can make the video and we can send them, right? But they sometimes just copy the notes, and so it means on the videos you are saying that you don't have the subtitles and all, right? And if you want to use the images, and if people could get it from the images, right? They could understand. They can easily just have that thing, and they can answer it in a video part. But if they want to write it, and I mean, teachers are not clear, because all the teachers, they just want to, they do not use the images as the things. They just want to, they just click the pictures, and they do not click the pictures of the notes properly. So students can't get it. Writing also. The students feel confused. What the teacher just copy how they are getting the things. From 1st to 5th standard, like we can provide the videos to them, but yeah, from the upper classes, from the senior secondary classes, it's very difficult to provide the videos and all, because we have to provide all videos for all other subjects. So you have 1st to 5th standard student as well. Yes, we try to explain the basic things to them when they see the video. After later on, we explain to them whatever was there in the video. But for the higher classes, it's become difficult. Okay, so now you have said that there are all the deaf people who are involved in a WhatsApp group, and you try to communicate with a chat on WhatsApp group, correct? So there are some deaf students who might complain as well that they are not providing with the accessibility. So do you try to support them? What do you do in that situation when they complain to you? So from 6th to 10th standard, I try to support them more if they are not getting the things. So on WhatsApp group, we do have a group, and we try to communicate with other people. We try to inform them all the things, whatever is happening around the world. So, but with the children who are from 1st to 5th standard studying in that class, they maybe not get it if you're trying to inform them. But yeah, others, the adults one, they do get it, and we try to inform them. So you try to provide more support to the deaf students who are from 6th to 9th or 10th standard, correct? You try to explain them if they have any doubt, and you try to be involved more with the adult one, correct? It's not about the teaching only. So earlier, so whenever, I mean, if they are watching any video, if I've made any video putting the subtitles, but sometimes we are missing the subtitles on the video, right? So if I'm making any video, I will try to put all the subtitles, and I will put it on that group. Then people can easily get it, and they would be benefited from it also. So, but if I mean, they do not get the ISL. We do have the variation as well. Okay, so Dr. Melissa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is that the problems that Ishmat is sharing here is also common for other children also. It's not any different. It's just probably the language issues and internet connectivity. All these are very common, whether hearing or deaf children. We've seen it in our research, which is ongoing research on online education. And the best thing that we need to focus is that I have a question also in the fact that, are you teaching all the content? Is it compulsory for deaf teachers to teach all the content in the textbook? What are your school trying to teach? Are you identifying core areas that need to be covered at certain level? That is the thing that we need to do. We need to work on an alternative syllabus for this period, because we have to reduce the time, we have to reduce the content to meet the at least children will not be missing out on certain skills, certain target that we call learning outcomes. So teachers need to be trained. So since last year also we have a few teachers who has joined NCERT Diksha portal for training of teachers. And they are providing online training on how to redesign the pedagogy that you have to do in the online classes. So and the problem is that not only that internet is an issue, but many of the teachers are not trained even how to use these devices. So we have challenges of untrained teachers. We have challenges where even parents of deaf children and other children, also rural children, semi-urban children, also have problems in the sense that they cannot access devices. So, and they have parents who are illiterate, who cannot read English. So these are very common. So we need to see, most of the schools are probably using NIOS, right? Textbooks, like I think in Montfort. And other schools are affiliated to state governments using board textbooks. Other schools are using CBSE. So you see, there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of chaos, and teachers are not ready at all to tackle this kind of situation. So WhatsApp, recording of content, YouTube, all these have been really helpful. But the problem is that when it comes to deaf children, particularly at secondary level, class 10 and 12, these are going to face board exams. Now we don't have accessible content for them to compete in the board exams also. And okay, CBSE is using NCERT textbooks. So NCERT we have in YouTube channel, we have in the PMEV there. We have the 12 DTH channels also, we have contents, but not everything has been included. Even now, we have finished only class 1, which is already telecast and in sign language translated. Then we have only 410 e-content in English for primary level education. And that can be accessible through NCERT, CIET. And for certain levels, class 11, 12, certain subject areas of science and maths and geography also are available. But still, we are still in a progressing stage. We are not, we cannot have that 100% resources for all deaf children in the country. And provided that, we need to think of how do we identify curricular areas that are needed to cover at certain level. And then the pedagogy also has to be modified. We need to develop an understanding that we need to give learning tasks that enables children to do something rather than sitting in front of the screen all the time. But you have to redesign the lesson, redesign classroom management in the sense that, you have issues where you can't actually see the hand movements because of the internet connection. And even there are teachers who cannot incorporate using many other apps, like Moodles also is another platform where we can use whiteboards and other things, didactic forms of pedagogical tools that we can bring in. So many are not trained. And even if you do it, the kind of assessment that goes in, what are you going to assess? So we need to kind of condense certain content. We need to identify what are the skills we are looking at. It has to match the learning outcomes. So regarding curriculum materials, how to make it accessible, visual medium is the best for deaf children. Like Ankit was mentioning, you know, the benefits of online education. These things we are doing, but the attention span of children has to be taken care of, because we can translate content to sign language. But if there's no pedagogy involved, then how do we assess learning? How do we know? We simply, sometimes we translate the text, you know, in sign language, and we have captions, because we're making it inclusive education, and the you know, the focus on universal design of learning, catering to diverse learners, not only deaf. So it kind of like certain aspects of content also, that you know, when we talk about speaking skills in English, how can we do speaking skills for deaf children? It's impossible. So even e-content needs to be redesigned, needs to be contextualized to the needs of the children, to the needs of the teachers. So these are very larger issues. And that's why I say that in India, we need restructuring of the, when we try focus so much on, as per RTE Act, we talk about inclusive education, then NEP 2020, it demands restructuring of education. That inclusive spirit has to come in. See, even now, many of you are directly involved with the deaf community. I'm alone. I'm working with the hearing community, working for deaf community. But in my daily routine, I have to convince hearing people that we need to think inclusive content, delivery, teacher training. Teachers also, even the teacher educators themselves cannot think of that inclusive spirit, you know, where we can think of even the simple mode of communication in the classroom. We tend to forget that there's a deaf child in the classroom. We never ask question to the deaf child in the classroom. And even if the deaf child has learned something because there's an interpreter, the teacher failed to acknowledge the learning because he is signing. And the teacher doesn't know sign language. So I find it like, okay, this is India. So I've learned to try to make things happen. And because when we make story, like Ankit has done story reading, we also have done story reading materials in sign language. And the thing is that to promote English, we do a literal translation. We don't do the natural sign language, literal translation, so as to help them understand English grammar. Okay, so there will be objections from the deaf community. This is not the sign language. And then the teachers, no, we want this literal translation because it helps them to learn English better. And then when we do that, children are learning, picking up vocabulary faster. And the teacher failed to assess. The same kind of assessment designed for hearing children will be used for deaf children also. So how is it fair that deaf children will become, you know, compared to a hearing child? Because in the board exams, the assessment will be as per the written form. So these are the real issues, challenges by deaf children in inclusive classroom. So at this point, I'll say something. I mean, I'll stop here. I'll let others to speak.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all the pointers to share just right away. So about the visuals and the needs and the things we need to do. I will call you once again for sure. And I would have the, another panelist now. We would have like
yes, please.
Okay. So Rati, I think you have both the experiences. In America, you know, the COVID has happened and everything just locked down, and we have the classes on online. So in MSSD, or what the things you have seen the successes, or so how you can connect with the ISL Connect, like you are teaching that also, you have the experience, how you can compare both of the classes. So comparing both of the classes is very different kind of experience. So in America, so when the school closed down, I think it was in March, from 14th March. So they said, okay, for 5 weeks school will be closed. For 5 weeks school were closed. So in teachers, they said maybe after 3 weeks you have to come back, and now you have to start with the online classes. So for 2 to 3 weeks, we just after 2 to 3 weeks we began with the online classes, and they informed us about the Zoom, how to use Zoom, and the workshops, online workshops, and we just started doing that. So we were taking the steps and doing the things. So in MSSD from 9 to 12 standard students we have. So for example, from March to June, we have the lockdown, right? So it was not necessary to have the Zoom session for an hour. So teacher will make the lesson plan and will make the things, all the things of video and all. So then the students, they can easily take the material. We do not force the students to come and join the session particularly in particular time. For example, so we are Google Sheet, okay. So I make the Google Sheet, right? So in
lesson plan.
Google Sheet plan.
Lesson plan.
Lesson plan. So it's been 6 years I've been working here. So from March to after 3 weeks, we started working on Zoom, and we said to start an online platform. Zoom. We don't force children, just and step by step things. So teacher thought, okay, they will make the video and all other things, the material they will make it, and they will have the class, right? So it's not we have the live sessions and we will provide the print material, anything to them, because all the technical devices was provided before the pandemic. The tablet and all were provided to the students. iPad. So when the COVID happened, we didn't think about the COVID situation. This just happened before that. So we provided all the technical devices to them, and so we just saved our papers and the printing material, and they were quite aware about using the technical devices. And then COVID happened, then they were fine. That okay, they have the lesson plans and all, they have the videos and everything. It was quite easy for everyone. And also we just have the Zoom session also. So people, if they will have any doubt, so we have Google class as well. So where people could come, and we have the email IDs also. And in the Gallaudet in university, it was we did these things, and people could come and students can ask their queries. But in physical way, like we have this 6-hour class, correct? But on Zoom, it was around 1 to 2 hours only. So it happened from March to June. School were closed in June. So from August onwards, then maybe will be starting the school. So full time the online session for 6 hours, no, will not be having. Students can't be there, right? So maybe we'll have it for 3 hours or 2.5 hours. That's all. On Zoom, 2 hours or 2.5 hours or 3 hours. And also in the afternoon, we have the classes in the afternoon, not in the morning time, because we have these hostels are full and people are coming from all other countries and staying here. So they have different time zones, right? So in the early morning, they have to wake up at 4. And so they are living in different zones. So we have given the flexible time. Then they wake up, and when they feel relaxed and they would like to join the class, so it's matching to their needs. To the students, the students who are studying from Italy and they are studying from America, so they would like to go back to America. We don't want to, maybe they will like to say that we want to go back to our hometown. So we just provide the classes according to their needs and as per their timings. And in India, truly, when I say from 2009, we launched 90 minutes. I think the system could get better. But the thing is, the problem is related to the schools only. We do not have the good education system. So in IGNOU, I was there 2019 and I've been teaching over there. I know before that, I learned the Indian Sign Language and I thought, okay, I know that. And I did that, yeah, I have done MA English and I thought, okay, I can do. But later on, I realized, no, I am not skilled enough to do that thing. I thought that, okay, I am postgraduate and I know the sign language also. Then we got to know that we have to learn B.Ed and other things as well. Then we understood that no one is following the bilingualism method. So I came to America and learned all the things, and I learned that, oh, I was doing the wrong thing earlier. Now I learned the skills in America, and now then I started working over there. So when I was looking at the India, so from 2011 onwards, I've been here in America. So we used to go to the India and we present over there in the workshops and seminars. But after that, the things just go away. So we were just thinking that how the teachers could be more qualified enough and skilled enough to teach the deaf students. But in this pandemic situation, now people are using the online platform. So in 2020, in March, from March to June, like you say, we have the Haryana schools, right? Ankit just talked about it. So they are making the curriculum as well. And we just thought, Bilal and me, we supported them, how they can work from March to June. And we had the meeting as well. We discussed all the things. And I saw that how they are managing the things. I thought that, yeah, India also can do better. And in the July, first time, we had the teacher training course. And we provide the 3 weeks course. Teachers were not, when they were teaching in the school, that was a different scenario, but they're doing online and they were saying that we don't have any job and they were working in the NGO sector. We said, okay, you can come here and you can try. So we have 150 applicants and we just, so hearing or deaf also, no, only deaf teachers were the applicants. So we accepted only 20. You mean 28? 28. Okay. 28. We accepted the 20 application only. Then we have we trained them in 3 weeks time. And in what we have done here, when we tried to summarize and the pointers we just explain to them, and the how they can use the technological things, the words they can use, and like equality and how they can use it. Can you go back? Yeah. AMTI. Okay. And anti-blast. Okay. Okay. So
right.
Yeah. So how they can treat equally to all the people, how they can be involved, and how they can train and they can teach English to the other people. So we have COTTC course when they are done with the training part, and all the deaf teachers who came from different areas, different countries, and they came back to their own organization and they started working over there. And later on, they just asked me that they want to learn English and how they can do better in this thing. So we just said that that was the thing, how you can teach to the deaf students. That was not related to the how to learn, how to be skilled enough in English language. So we started in 2020 ISL Connect. We established that. That's the reason we established that course, so that we could have those teachers and we interviewed them and then started the course. So it's been from the October month, about 10 people we have, and yeah, from 11 to, it's 11 to 50 years age, anyone can join the course. So we are trying to designing the course as per the online platform, how we can train them. So you are training the deaf students, like how to learn English and to do better. So you are making the curriculum as per the bilingualism method, right? So in India, there are a lot of hearing teachers who have been teaching to the deaf students. So what do you feel, can they replicate that thing, and the hearing teachers can also use that thing for the deaf students? Yes, I think it would be possible for them to, we can easily say that, but we, as of now, the deaf teachers, they are very qualified enough to teach the deaf students. But if in case all the hearing people are there, if we will try to have those people, they might take the position of the deaf people, right? So we just want deaf people to be a teacher for deaf students right now. So when you are teaching to the deaf students, you provided the certificate and all. So if they want to do better and better in future, if you have hearing teachers in schools and who have the good intentions, who have the deaf teacher and they would like to work with them and to teach the deaf students. So what would you feel like in that situation? Yeah, I think that situation would be better if they are welcoming deaf teachers to teach the deaf students. So OTT, we have 3 weeks course. That would not be enough. I think we need to have more time also for that. So in ISL Connect, so we have total 6 deaf teachers, and I'm only the hearing teacher over there. So we have the 3 assistants, and so I'm the only hearing teacher over there. We are working along with the deaf teacher. We have been trying to how we can do the things better in a better way. There were all the teachers. Yeah, we can provide those deaf teachers as a mentor to them. So the last question, I think, yeah, I would like to ask you. Do you think here in India for the deaf students, it would be possible to make the online platform for them so that they can learn in a better way, or they should go back to the school and learn in a physical manner? What do you feel like? And also, do you think in the mainstream schools, or if you say inclusive schools, it is the better option for the deaf student, or the special school would be the better one? For the first one, I think the special school would be better for the deaf students. For the young one, it's very much important for them to learn along with the other deaf students. For example, I have experience. I've studied in a girls' school. After at 11th standard, I studied along with the boys. So you know about the Indian culture, right? Parents, I mean, they encourage more boys, not the girls. So we do not feel we have the equality at par with the boys. So we could have the girls leader as well. So might be in that situation we could become confident also. We don't feel shy and we might feel confident. For example, we have the in Kerala we have 11th and 12th schools. The girls and boys were studying together, and we have the sports day, right? So boys were shouting and all, and if girls were shouting, teacher was saying you have to keep quiet, don't shout it out. So we can also just expose and whatever we are happy enough and we just want to have the fun. It's about the confidence, right? So hearing or deaf people, if you say boys can easily just mingle around, but for the girls, everyone would say you have to just keep quiet and they can't mingle around easily. So if this from the childhood, from 1st to 12th standard, if they are studying in the deaf schools till 12th standard, it would be easy for them. They would have the strong foundation, and in college time they might feel confident. But if from childhood they will be studying in mainstream school, might be they will not be much confident. So we have to focus for their development, right? So in MSSD, I see in America, we are focusing on the deaf students only. In hostels also, it's very easy for everyone. So, but yeah, in another situation, that would be different. Yeah, you were saying about the online education, right? And about online education, I think children who are aged from 0 to 12 or 13 years old, it could be an added advantage for them. We can't have it as a full time. Children who are studying, they have the different mindsets, and sometimes they would like to play and they would learn while playing. Sometimes they would not like to sit idly. And so in online education, it could be a added advantage, but we can't have it as a full time. So we can have the ideas and activities, and we can have the playing activities over there. After 12 years old, I think, yeah, we can have the online class, that we can consider it as a full time. So in America, they are providing the free education, right? So they do not force them to come online and attend the classes. If sometimes they feel like, okay, they would like to attend, or sometimes they are missing their friends. But in India, things are very conflicting, right? The opposite things. So I see that, yeah, both the systems are different in America and India. So thank you so much. I think I would like to open the floor. I think interpreter need to switch as well.
Right. Now, before we start the questions, we'll have poll number 2. We'll have the second poll. Tushar, you can come up to explain the poll. Great. So if the deaf schools get opened, if the schools are open and students are going and starting learning, so when they're going back to home, would they still want an online class, after school class? For example, when your school is done and you go back home and you take online classes, would you be willing to encourage children to do that? That's the question. First is yes. Yes, we should definitely encourage after school online classes. Second is no. And third is maybe. You can choose one option. Let's bring up the poll. Is the poll still continuing or has it stopped? Okay, I think it's come up again. Right, let's just continue to answer again. I'll sign the question again and then you can answer. Maybe some people might have missed out on seeing the sign. So if the schools reopen and the children go back to school, start learning again, and in the evening when they have free time, should we encourage them to join online classes? Yes, no, and maybe. If we can have a poll and we can see how many people have answered. Okay, 160 people have answered. We need more people to answer. Okay, I think people are still answering, still clicking. Great. So the results are up. Yeah, all right. So people who said okay, we got about 175 responses. People who said yes are 103 people. 103 people said yes, 59%. 35 people said no, 20%. And maybe has 37, which is 21%. Thank you. Thank you, Tushar. Great. So now I would like to inform you all that Ankit, can we turn off? Okay, Ankit has had a power cut, so he's just trying to get back. And secondly, I see that I think 59% of you guys said that yes, online education should continue after school as well. People should come in and learn again. I think it's a good thought, and it will. Since COVID has happened, you know, a lot of videos have been curated already. A lot of translation work has happened. A lot of visual work has happened. Pictorial work has happened. So definitely we can use that for future as well. And so many deaf people possibly are ready to tutor by now, and they can tutor. So I think that's a boon of a COVID. And right now, I think we are ready for questions. We are mindful of time, so we will only be picking up 5 questions. And we would request the panelists to stay if you can for 15 minutes. And whoever's asking you the question, please try and answer. And we'll try and be short, please, for everyone. Who wants to go for the first question? Gautam, you can pick someone. Great. Hi, Dr. Alim. Okay, I have been studying D.Ed HI, and the course is English, etc. And it's mostly oral and audio focused. They would just explain about, you know, the human ear and how a ear works and everything. I am definitely not interested in learning about that. So we 25 students don't feel interested at all. And they are such in-depth, explanations about oralism, etc. We would like to write to the government, and we've written to the government so many times that 5 times I've written to the government that you should change the course and update the course, and we want to eliminate the whole, auditory nuances to it and have bilingualism and sign language in the picture. So we did write to the government of India in the east area, and I'm the only deaf person there. So I'm definitely not interested in learning oralism, etc. So we wrote to the government to give us options, to make options, that sign language and bilingualism should be there. So I had, written in 2014. I had paid for that as well, but there has been no response. So, we deaf community, we don't feel like doing that, and we want sign language to be a part of this course. I possibly can answer this in brief, and then if Dr. Melissa would like to add anything, she could. I would like to tell you here that I know, the DED or the BEd courses in itself, the books, etc., are just, auditory focused and speech focused. For all of us, we've been advocating that we need to add more about, hands and sign language and the benefits of the linguistics of sign language. I think your group, Haryana group, that DED group, is the first batch which has 25 deaf people, right? It's the first time ever, having the DED course full time, and are analyzing the course, you're critiquing the course, that these topics should be included or not. So that's great. I think you should keep documenting that, and once you pass and you become a teacher, so people will see how you are succeeding, and they can definitely see the results, and that'll have a huge impact. I know I'm not going to say that don't stop advocating, keep advocating, keep asking the government. I know right now, this deaf empowerment course which Tushar and Charu taught you guys for 2 months, including that, it gives you a different perspective from sign language area, where deaf people can take pride in being deaf and be confident about it. Hopefully in the future, both the things can be connected, and more teachers can become more aware about the deaf background of being deaf, and also about the deaf children. This is just the beginning. We've taken a very small step. We got to be very, very patient and keep advocating and keep making an impact. I would like Dr. Melissa to also answer, because you are a part of NCERT and you would know more.
Yeah. So I would like to respond to the question. First of all, I think you're from Haryana.
Please, spotlight it. Just hold on, please.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Just spotlight. Just hold on.
Oh, okay, it's working.
Great. Right? Yeah, you can just be brief. Yeah.
Yeah. First thing is that you're from Haryana, if I think I understood that correctly, and your courses are affiliated to the state government or RCI. That I mean, the answer will differ from that.
RCI, it's connected to RCI.
So I think this is an issue which has been for years. It's not a recent issue. And many people like you also in our state, in the Northeast also, they face a similar problem where they really don't want to learn about oralism and all those things. And in the general BEd, what NCERT advocate is a paper on inclusive education. That is, it trained teachers on handling diversity in the classroom, including the children with special needs. Beyond disability, we have other groups of children also that comes under inclusive education. That is disadvantaged children, gender, all those things, okay? So the BEd courses that NCERT advocate is to train teachers to equip themselves in how to teach students in the classroom as per the individual needs. So it's not about the history of how disability comes about, or what is the best method and all that, but the strategies. So I think the DED syllabus needs to be redesigned, and the RCI also, of course, like you said, options should be available, because there are some who still prefer to use oralism also in school, because some of them have mild cases of hearing loss. So we cannot deny that also, but majority have progressive case of hearing loss. So gradually, when they reach a certain stage and level of learning, a certain age, they prefer to know about sign language. So yes, now NEP 2020 also talks about strengthening the language of the children in the classroom. So even you are student, DEd students, that means it is a mandate by every government to ensure accessible language and in the classroom, accessible curriculum materials in the language of the student. So from that, from NEP perspective, you can strengthen, you can talk about it. Even the local varieties also NEP 2020 also talks about. So from that angle, you can rewrite these issues. And yes, again, like I say, options has to be there for everybody. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your question, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask second question? No, I'm so sorry. We have to be mindful of the time. We have to pick 5 people. So yeah, okay. Thank you. Next person, please. Okay, thank you. Like Tushar mentioned that, once the schools reopen and if you want to encourage deaf people to still go for Zoom classes after school, the poll that came up, I am definitely interested. But once the school are reopening and then you're learning on Zoom also, can that happen for all classes or only few classes? Right. See, classroom learning, once you've finished that and you go home, and if you are free, in the evening, if there's a teacher and a tutor, any other person who wants to just tutor you and matches to the needs of the deaf. For example, if it's level 4, then level 4 students, class 4 students, not 1 to 11 mix, not that, class wise. I think teachers are available. See, it could be assistants, other people, or other, person, an outsider, a deaf person who's already studied and, he's good at math. Maybe he could start his own online classes, after school online classes. That's possible. That's just a thought that could happen. Thank you. Great. Thank you. Next question. Hi. So you were talking about online classes. I have 2 hearing daughters, and the schools have closed because of COVID. And I see that online classes, they are, they are a little, they are learning, but there are a lot of barriers as well. Bothering. Okay. There are a lot of distractions. There are a lot of distractions, you meant? Stress. Okay. Okay, it can cause a lot of Zoom fatigue and stress. And I think once the school reopen, I feel that once they are back to school, I don't think I want my kids to go back to online education. I don't want that. But for the deaf, maybe with since they are very visual, and for online, sometimes the eyes get really fatigued, even for the deaf, and even for hearing. I think that's a problem when a lot of people are speaking at the same time. So that's my opinion, because I've seen my daughters struggle. That, yeah, right. Um, is it possible both ways? Like you go to school and then you come back and then you do online courses? No, I don't recommend that. Okay, I feel no. I think not. That's not a good idea, because too much of devices can be stressful, and we should go out, and that's better off. I feel. Right. Good. Thank you. Thank you for explaining your experience. Next question. Any women, please? Can we have women? Please don't shy away. I know you are there. Please raise your hand. We would like to ask you a question. I mean, you can ask a question. Okay. Hi. I am Shafiq. That's my sign. My name is SHAFIQUE. I work as an ISL teacher, and I've been seeing that a lot of deaf people, same for me as well, for so long. For 17 years I've been working in this field, 17 years, and there are such challenges which are not getting resolved. I don't want to explain my challenges. I just want to be brief here. Be it Haryana, Odisha, Meghalaya, I have seen that RCI per se, NIHH Mumbai, they um, they want, we should have like a course which includes deaf people. When there was MA courses, they were encouraging that, and we had, you know, put in our suggestions to them. They sidelined our suggestions, and they did not respect us. And over the years, they have not developed any course like we for the interpreters or the teachers course. So new updated course, we had given them updates, we had given them recommendations, but they would take priority of the interpreters first and not of the deaf. So I mean, I don't understand that why they were okay with passing that. And then in IGNU, when the course started, I was in same time I was encouraging, but there were challenges again. So RCI board, we definitely need to have people in the RCI board and strongly demand the use of sign language. And deaf leaders, we've given them recommendations, everything we've done. We've given them such documents, like heavy documents, but they've just not taken anything in consideration. So it just feels, how do they view us? You like deaf people giving ideas, they just sideline us and they want your ideas only from hearing people, everyone like that, and they keep approving that. So I don't understand that, you know, RCI, it writes, it talks about disability, but it doesn't let persons with disability stand up and ask for them. So then it's time to change. And you know, we can't just keep accepting the same kind of help they've been giving us for years now. So we got to stand up and we got to do that. And I totally understand that it just, you know, it's just about mind games, like be it the B.Ed and D.Ed. We've written letters so many times. Like when I was in Indore, there has been no single response. So I don't understand what's the problem with RCI, and we definitely need to change that. I think the NEP letter, like you mentioned, maybe, or we could go to the court. We should go to the court. Right. To answer to you, I don't know if you're already aware that there has been, I think 2 days ago, there has been news. It says guidelines for online education for people with disabilities, right? So people who are into smaller communities, their experts can be a part of it, and they can explain how to go best and recommend the right kind of guidelines for the e-content. So I did start reading it, and I was like, I did not go in depth of it, just give a flying reading. And for deaf, it's very, very, very minimal. It's not enough at all. The kind of, you know, information they've given, so the ideas, etc., it's not enough. The reason why, I'll tell you, the reason why, because who's involved here, I have not seen many deaf experts being involved in this. It's hearing people. ISL person who's hearing is a part of this, but not deaf. Maybe one or two, but mostly it's, you know, experienced teacher or anyone. If they are part of it, it would have been a different thing. But I see that's missing, and that's not a part of it. So that's the problem. Again and again for years, it's continuing, and we have to decide what and how we will solve this. If we have to work with the government, if we keep have to filing complaints, or we have to go to the court, so who's the expert? You know, people who are experts, they can come up with the ideas, and we can go and make a new committee and develop these kind of things which can focus on the deaf education to become better. Or maybe even private documents, like automatically will, you know, we could start that. And last Tuesday, there was this one person who recommended that start a committee. Why are you waiting for the government? Start your own thing. Start bring experts, people who are education experts, who have the background, like for example, the deaf parents who have, you know, had challenges, etc. They could come, parents of the deaf, and teachers like you, Shafiq, Haryana teachers, everyone comes together and we can do something together. So that's just one idea of the recommendation and the solution that I can foresee. Just to let you
Can
know.
I say something here?
Just a minute, please. As I see with the COVID, yeah, the challenge is double. And yeah, so that's just, you know, I agree that we have to come together. Dr. Surinder Randhawa also, maybe everyone, we have to come together, Haryana, Aarti, everyone, we could come together and advocate for the rights. And we could be a part of the board, and, you know, and have an education committee for advocating, hopefully, with that. Yeah. Yeah, Miss Melissa, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add the guidelines that Dr. Alim mentioned. That is mainly for e-content designing, for e-content. It's not for online education. Simply for development of e-content materials. It's not for online education. I just wanted to clarify on that.
But the material will be used for online education, right?
These are, yeah, for online education, but specifically the criteria has been given there only how to develop e-content materials, teaching learning materials for the differently able. So
Right.
it's not totally, it does not capture online education. Yes. So, yeah. And yes, I agree that the content regarding the hearing impairment and deafness is very minimal. And I don't know how this has come about. But I just want to add one more point to the poll, the question also that, recently we had a program on Sayok where we talk on the stress that, mental stress that students face, all students. So I have to mention this that, you cannot force children to be on online education throughout, especially after attending school. It's really stressful. And offline school is always the best school because in offline you can always integrate a virtual media platform also for teaching. Why? Because a lot of learning takes place through interaction in the school environment, particularly for deaf children, especially young children, is very critical that they are exposed to an appropriate linguistic environment, particularly for the deaf children. So the school environment, linguistic environment, the sign language input is much more in school rather than in homes, because many deaf children come from hearing family. And recently we had a talk in the Sayok channel, and that also we have many deaf children who are facing a lot of mental problems, isolation because of online schooling. So they are more isolated, and there are schools that don't have, majority are hearing teachers, doesn't know sign language, so there's no teaching at all. So we have to think about that kind of situation, because even for other children also, when I ask what kind of school would you want to be in, they say they prefer the offline school, to go to school, to meet their friends, socializing, learning, incidental learning takes place in these interaction. And also, I just want to add, because we're running out of time, that teachers, whether hearing or deaf teachers, you need to really focus and contextualize your teaching learning materials. What are your target? What are your objective of teaching in this particular session? And your teaching pedagogy also has to, design to create, to promote critical thinking. So you have to design lots of activities that gives children platform to do. And to create interaction in virtual mode, also you can have virtual readers theater, which we normally do, virtual reading, where teachers prepare the script for reading. These reading scripts are translated from content. Okay, so it gives a live interaction, a platform for reading. It's like a stage, a virtual stage where you act out on the reading. So we've done that with other children also, it works. So the main focus, like even for all children, I'm not just talking about deaf children. Now it's the time to promote reading, to engage children in reading. So let's focus on promoting reading. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Alim here. I would just like
Yes,
to
yes.
add, the e-content. The e-content is, I did read that, the deaf part, and one part, I mean, it could have, they could have just added that more scenarios, acts, and like for example, of negative scenarios, positive scenarios, what are right behaviors, wrong behaviors, some kind of a creativeness and visual, if it could have been, rather than just a book, because explaining the whole just ISL translations is not going to be enough.
Yes, I agree. And I was asked to review that work. I was asked to review and had mentioned that the paralinguistic features need to be incorporated. What he's talking about, when you just translate content, to students, it's boring. But when you narrate, the narration is more important. So I have given my views, but I think it was not taken. I'm sorry to say that, but it was not taken. Those elements of teaching are very important, which is absent. So just watching translation is not going to be engaging. Yeah, I agree.
Right. Thank you. I I think Aarti wants to add something, and Shafiq, I would like to. Okay, just a minute. Shafiq.
Hi, Arathi.
Sorry, Shafiq. Yeah, not Gautam. I just think, that all hearing people, whatever, I don't understand how they don't have a heart for deaf. And every Sunday Modi is speaking, and he's just, every Sunday he would just speak, and people would just come and listen to him. And deaf people also, we also want to go and listen to him. I would like to have a video call with him to understand that, that these are the things I really demand, and these are the challenges I have. So, and maybe hopefully then he can understand and take up some action. Yeah, I think we as a deaf community has to go together and do that. Yeah, I think would you like to add something? Yes, I'll just try to be short and to the point. I totally understand that an online education will continue. And like Melissa mentioned that, maybe it doesn't match to the needs. It is stressful, but, comparing the deaf students who are getting nothing and fighting for advocacy. So they are just going in oral schools and they want like proofs that I'm so sorry that if bilingual education can be there. Manisha, can you switch?
Yeah. So, okay, I will go back to my point. So, ISL Connect, why we have established ISL Connect, there were schools who were following the bilingualism method. But government said that, yeah, do you think that is there a benefit while using the bilingualism method in schools? So, we have been watching the thing. So, from October beginning, so we see that there were some improvement in the skills of the deaf people, and we saw that they were also getting the benefits from it. So hearing people, they go to the schools and they come back to home and they also get the tutoring also, and they are studying from that part. So but online education, they don't have to visit at a particular place. They can just learn at their home. So we have some students from northeast, some north, some south state. So it's easy to have an online session. It would be easy. We can have anyone, right? The qualitative teacher, right? So online education for the children and for the adults, I think it's okay. But yeah, the main point is over here. If you have the physical classes, it's like we have to have the circular position, right? For the deaf students, if they sit in a circular manner. But if sometimes we do not have this enough space, then we have the decks and all people would see. So maybe we would have the small space and that would be difficult to see the deaf students. So I think we should have the screen near to them so that they can easily see the teacher, whatever they are teaching to them. Sometimes people who are living in the far away area, they can't go to the particular places, and they who have the disabled children, they can't take it on the everyday basis. Who have the cerebral palsy, they can't also visit the schools, and they feel like, okay, you can learn from home. So it's better. We can have the same thing. So they were also failing in their education. So when we are having the online course and the training things, so that was the problem when they were attending the physical classes. They do have the great mind and brain also, but it was easy to have the access at home. So it was very benefited for the person with disabilities, other disabilities as well. So we have been coordinating with the NGOs and the government sectors also. We always showing them that deaf can do anything. So with ISL Connect, there are people who are doing much better things. Some people think, okay, can we go to the Gallaudet University if you want to learn more? So you have other jobs as well. You have full-time job and you have your family as well, and you're working in other projects also. So sometimes people just they like. So we have students from UK and from Ireland, from different countries. So we are seeing that what skills we can what skills match can be provided to them. So in online education, I think that also is a good thing. I don't feel that if we are forcing them, that they feel stressed, but otherwise not. So I would like to add over here, I know, yeah, online education actually gives the success to the people, but it most important, the thing is teachers should know how to teach on the online platform, to provide to use the creative ideas and innovative things. Then I think there would not be an issue while teaching on the online classes. So if they don't know how to teach, then the students might feel bored and they would not be interested. So they should have the training, they should know the methodology and how to teach the things. Yeah. One more thing, if I could add. So Dr. Melissa said that, yeah, reading is very much important for the students. We can provide the books to them, but if we are providing we are providing books to them, teachers are encouraging them also. But it would be easy if they have a reading club, right? So we have the PDF and all, we can provide the notes to them. If they are, we can have the discussion with them at the end of the week. Like they can discuss, they can read the books all over the week, and then we can discuss. So we have to make the reading habit of the deaf children. So I think it's necessary for everyone, and we can have the proof also that, yeah, bilingualism do benefit the deaf children. So yeah, again and again, I've been just forgetting the thing. Deaf, blind, I mean, how they are managing with the online system, online education. So in here in MSSD, we do have the deaf blind children, but they have a low vision, so they can easily see the. We have the large font and the. If we zoom out the picture and on the zoom, whenever we are showing the screen, so we have to have the screen near to them so that they can easily watch it. But if we have the complete deaf blind person, then we do need to have a personal interpreter for them who can use the tactile interpreter. Okay, so thank you so much, Aarti. I think we are running out of time. We can have only 2 last questions, that's all.
Ma'am, Avinash, I think Avinash say something. Huh?
Can you just hold on for a second? Okay. Yeah, Rishabh. Yes. So yeah, I was quite surprised with the questions, right? You were talking about the challenges being faced by the online education, but I have seen some positive aspects also, I would like to say. So some of my friends, they have been before the pandemic situation, they were visiting to the schools, right? The fees were expensive, they have to stay at the hostel, and they have to pay for the traveling charges also, and teachers were not teaching good. But in this pandemic situation, they got busy a lot. In this pandemic situation, they have been working on a different aspects, and they can easily connect with their friends also. They can do the courses, skill courses as well, vocational training. That was so cheap, for 200 and 300 bucks for 1 month only. And when they were visiting the institute, they have been learning from that places from 10 to 20 years and not getting anything. So situation got just changed for them. Yeah, I do agree with you. Yes, online education do have the positive aspects of it. Yes, you are right. So I was surprised. People were saying all the negative things about it, but I feel like that I have been learning a lot in this pandemic situation. So thank you, Dr. Alim, for having this great discussion. I think, yeah. Who wants to ask another question? Hello. Yeah, do you have a question? I'm from Africa. So you were talking about the learning online, right? People who are aged from young children to the adult one, 3 to 18 years old, is it possible for everyone to learn online for all age groups? Who would like to answer this question? Ankit, would you like to answer this question? Ankit, would you like to, or maybe Dr. Melissa, anyone would like to answer?
Yeah, Ankit is there.
Yeah, Ankit is here. Okay. Can we spotlight Ankit? Okay, great answer. You can begin with your answer. Okay. Hello, Oliver. I'm so glad to see you here. So, I've been joined through the two devices. You asked a great question. So, the adult one who are from 14 to 18 years old, they are good with the using the technical device, but from the young children, it's very difficult. Why? Because from 14 to 18 years old, they can discuss easily online, they can do the homework, and they can easily Google the things, and they can make the videos. And teachers who are making the videos, providing the videos to them, they can easily learn from it. But children who are from 0 to 4 years old, it's very difficult. It's very, they always distracting. They can't have a focus easily on the screen, and they just would like to play every time. So if two children would be sitting together, I think that would be easy. Young children, that I would say. That's the experience of all the teacher, I feel like. Okay, great. I understood. Did he answer your question, or if you feel like? So yeah, I just wanted to ask for which age group it would be better to have an online session from 8 years onward. What do you feel like? Adi, would you like to? Sorry, Ankit, would you like to answer? I think the benefit of learning online, yes, we do have a benefit because parents are involved with them. If parents are involved with the children, they are discussing with the teacher and along with their children, I think it would be easy for them, right? Because they could easily learn the things and they would have more information. Children who are from 1 to 5 years old, it's very much important for them to have, whether it's online, whether it's the physical classes. But the thing is, we should have the parents involved with them. We don't need to wait for them to have the age more than 5 years. So yeah, you have to make the lesson plan and you have to strategize the things how you will teach to them. Yeah, that's the more important thing. Yeah, Ankit, I would like to add, I've experienced like in my peer-to-peer learning. So children who are from 2 to 6 years old, parents do not get involved with them because they were learning Indian Sign Language and they were just coming for 2 to 5 days a week, and they sometimes get mobiles from them also. So sometimes it becomes difficult for the children to use the mobile of their parents. But for the adults one, it's quite easy. They can use the mobile and they can easily, and they said that okay, they would like to become the teacher. Students were using the science, they were more interested, I think. So for the parents, if they are taking up the mobile from their children, but the most important thing is if we have the other staff member or the principals and all, if they can schedule the timings and talk with the parents and how they can be involved with their children, and they will get it, they will, I think they will follow the guidelines. If they will be taking away the phones from the children, that would not be easy for the children, right, to learn online. So we have to involve them also. So all the teachers and the staff members, they have to connect with the parents and have to talk to them that how they can do the things. Yeah, you are right, you said the right thing. In city it's okay, but in village areas, in rural areas, it's quite difficult, you know. There are a lot of people, they are not aware and they are not ready to listen. Sometimes people could involve, parents could involve, but I don't think every time. But I think we should wrap up here because we are running out of time. So in this COVID situation, when it happened, so it gives us more of the experience, the challenges, the pros and cons. And if anything happened like this in the future, we would be ready, and we would be ready with a better plan how we can do better in online education system, and how we can prepare the things and we can train the teachers so that they would be ready to teach. Right now teachers are confused, they don't know how to teach their students right now. I think things will be better in the future. That's my vision. So if we will be collecting all the data and the challenges being faced by the people, then we can set up the things in rural areas as well, and then people might be involved too. Ankit here. So I have experience, you know, in railway. So internet right now is very much important, right? So we have the in railway station we have free Wi-Fi and people can easily use it. And people are using the internet connection for using the for for the entertainment purpose. But I think that we can use that thing in rural areas, right? And students can easily and they can learn through and using those free Wi-Fi spots. I think we could have that thing in rural area. That's I think that yeah we can remove from that railway station platforms to the rural areas. So thank you everyone for asking your questions. It was a very fruitful discussion. So we'll see maybe in the future time online things maybe get lesser or we will go back to our normal routine and maybe we'll have the both the things. Maybe we'll go to school as well and we have the online session also. Both of the things we can have it. So and for the second thought, I believe that for the inclusive classes, I think we have like people are talking about the inclusive classes right now, inclusive school, but I think we are not ready for it. And we have to follow the bilingualism method. And I know deaf people are lagging behind. So how they can be involved in the inclusive setup? To involve the deaf students along with the other hearing students and also the teacher who don't know the sign language and also having the interpreter. I don't think it would be enough for them. So encouraging inclusive setup and also I think maybe we can have the deaf teacher or maybe we can encourage the teachers, hearing teachers to learn Indian Sign Language. Then deaf children will see that yeah, they do have a deaf role model as a teacher. So, but I think the more important thing is we have to involve the parents so that they can plan better what they want their children to be in the future and what the career they would like to have for their children. So I don't think schooling will be enough for the deaf students. But I would like to thank you everyone for discussing the things, and I will be sharing this recording on YouTube and on Facebook as well. So I hope we will have the another discussion as well, and we'll have the solutions for all the challenges we are facing related to online education. I think I have a third poll question right now, and later on we will be done. Tushar, can you please can we have Tushar to be spotlighted? Yeah. Okay. So the third poll question. So would you encourage deaf students to learn from the deaf teachers? Would you like deaf students to learn from the deaf teachers, whether it would be online platform or the physical classes? Do you feel like that, yeah, deaf students learn better from the deaf teachers? Yes. Then click on it. If you feel like no, and then click on the particular question, and third one will be maybe. Can we have a poll question, please? Okay, I think people are still answering. So people have voted, 103 people have voted. Many people said that yes. 89% people said yes. 86%, sorry. And the others said 4% said no. And 10% said maybe. So thank you everyone. I think yeah, many of us would like and imagining to have a deaf teacher in our class, and their students also imagine that thing, so that they could have a easy access and they could learn Indian Sign Language better. I hope we would have more deaf teachers in the future. Second thing, I would like to thank you everyone, the 5 panelists. Ankit for joining us. Smart, thank you so much for joining here. I'm so glad to have you here. And Pradeep and Dr. Melissa and Aarti, for everyone for joining here. I know that it was a long discussion and we do have the doubts and all. We hope we'll meet you once again and have a deep discussion once again. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you so much. Waving hands.